Hey, I'm Chicken Johnny, and you're out on the farm with Chicken Johnny. I'm going to hook up this rotavator, and I'm going to take it out in the field, and we're going to till the area that we plowed and then went over with the field cultivator in our last episode. So the most important thing when you're hooking up an implement on your tractor is to get squared up to the implement so that you can get it hooked up. We'll see how well I did. I'll probably have to jockey the tractor around a little bit, but here we go. First thing I want to do is get the PTO shaft connected. Now I'm not going to get it onto the PTO yet, I just wanted it on the PTO itself. And all right. I'm going to connect my top link up. That's going to be a bit of a deal. Use the control of the top link to bring this out where I can connect my control arms. There we go. You got to watch out for these guys here. When they spring closed, that's a lot of pressure. If you got your finger under there, you're going to scream. Now, I don't have to put the limiters on this. Limiters would keep the rototiller from moving side to side, and they connect up underneath the tractor up here. I don't use limiters on the rototiller. I do use it when I'm using the cultivator to actually cultivate a crop. So the next thing we want to do is connect the PTO to the tractor. So well, I got the PTO hooked up, I've got the implement connected, so I'm going to jump up on the tractor, drive it out into the field, and we will resume filming at that point. So we're at the field, but I want to show you a few things before we get going. So let's hop off of this beast. So you can see the field here, and you can see the furrows that were left and some of these large chunks of dirt. And the objective today is to break those clogs up. One of the big problems that we're facing in this field and what we're trying to overcome is that last spring it was so wet at the beginning of planting season that we actually planted this field wet. we actually went in and tilled it when it was too wet to be tilled, and that was a huge mistake. I don't know how I could have avoided it. You've got to get the potatoes planted. We had too much rain last season to get the field put away properly. So now we're going to hit this so that it's essentially ready to plant into. Now I'd like to till it again next spring, and I probably will, but we're going to rototill it, subsoil it, rototill it again, and then we're going to seed it. And we probably won't get around to seeding it until tomorrow. We're supposed to get rain in 2 days, so, well, let's get at her. I'm going to set the tripod up so that you can watch us running through the field. Here we go. Have a lot of chunks down there. If I were transplanting plants right now, I think I'd be okay with the ground the way it is. But if I were going to be seeding, which is what I'm going to do, I want this to be a little bit more even across the top. I don't want quite as much of the large clods because the plants are going to grow in them, and then they're just going to sit there. So I've got to think about it. I may leave this through a rain. We're supposed to get rain tomorrow and then Friday, and then again next week possibly. Of course, they haven't been right so far, so I don't expect them to be right now. But if I leave this through a rain, a good heavy rain, it'll break down some of those clods that I've got in there now. And we call some of these, we call them Portuguese man-of-war clods, but that's a whole nother subject that we'll get into another time. So I put on the subsoiler, on the back. Now the subsoiler is not going to do anything to get rid of those clods. It's just two big hooks, and I'm going to pull this through the ground, and because there's only two subsoilers, two chisels on there, chisel plows, I'm going to go down and then I'm going to come back halfway over the row. So in other words, every time I go over this, I'm going to end up going over it twice for the same row. That way, right now I've got about 60 inches between my chisel plows. I want to cut that in half to about 30. So I'm going to overlap them. So here we go. And the thing about chisel plowing or subsoiling, it really does not, takes a lot of power because I'm going to go very deep. I'm going to take this deeper than I took the moldboard plow. And the reason I'm going to do that, the whole reason for subsoiling, is to get through the plow pan. As we plowed that soil, we actually created a subterranean pan, or a flat surface. We've even packed it down a little bit. Rototilling does that at about 4 inches, but it's not quite as bad. When we run a plow through, we actually compact some of that ground at about 7 to 10 inches. And so I've got to drop these down more than 7 to 10 inches so that they're really getting down into the soil and tearing things up. So let's go do it. I think I'll have you ride along for a little while. So let's get up on the tractor and get her started. I'm going to go low 1 first, and we'll take it kind of slow. I'll give it all the power I've got, but I'll keep it kind of on the slower side. So in this case, I've got my draft lever all the way down. I'm going to pull that up to where I want to be. So I'm going to bury my plows, and then I'm going to bring them back up until the tractor can handle it a little better. So here we go. Having a hard time pulling it because we're pretty deep. So I'm going to take you off the camera for a little bit, see if I can figure out what's going on so I don't blow anything out. So I'm actually running a lot deeper than I thought I was. I could still see the top of this chisel as I was going through. My dirt's coming actually up to about here, but look at how far that's going down. So that's about 12 or 14 inches. I want to pull the dirt off of this because I'd like to scour this up. This should get pretty well scoured, and then it'll actually run a lot faster. Well, we ran the subsoiler through all of it, and it looks pretty good, but it doesn't look as good as I want it to. I'm going to run over it with the rototiller one more time, but this time I'm going to use the 2601 B2601 Kubota tractor with the Howard rotavator on the back of it. The reason why this tractor is a little different is I can actually run this at a lower field speed. In other words, my tractor is going to move slower across the field with the rototiller moving at a much higher rate. So I think it'll do a little bit better job of breaking up some of those larger clods. And then when I get done with that, I'm going to go ahead and seed it with cowpeas. Got a bag of cowpeas here. I bought these from Caps down in Alabama, and so I don't think I bought enough. I'm going to seed it as much as I can, and then I do have some extra buckwheat up in the farm, up at the house. I'm going to probably plant that. If this isn't enough to do the whole field, I think I've got about 2 pounds here or something like that. Yeah, 2 pounds. And I can't just run over to Caps and buy some more because it's about 1,300 miles away. So I'm going to rototill the farm, rototill the field, and then I'll come back and we'll do some planting together. All right. So we've done the tilling, and you can see this field looks a little better. It's not exactly where I want it to be. It's got a little bit of clumpiness to it, but that's okay. We're going to plant the cowpeas in. The rain's going to come down. It's going to break up those little clumps, and then the winter's going to come. It's going to kill off the cowpeas, and then the spring is going to come. We'll do some light tillage, and we'll plant. So that's what the cowpeas look like. So I'm going to throw these by hand, and you'll probably get a chance to see a little bit of it. And then I'll probably shut the camera off while I do the rest. Well, I really didn't have enough. It was probably Probably had half of what I should have had. So I'd actually bought these to plant a smaller area. I thought if I spread them out pretty thin, I'd get it. I didn't get it. I've got some other seeds up there that I'm going to throw in just so that I get some green up, and then we'll till that in the spring and give us some good, powerful green manure. Well, listen, it's taken a few days to film this. I think it's going to take a while to edit it, but I'm going to go in and start editing. Hopefully I'll have this out for you by the end of the week. I'm Chicken Johnny in Mitzer Shem. I'll see you again. Eat your vegetables. And hey, go down and take a look at Will It Grow's website. You know, the guy's kind of rough around the edges, but he's got a lot to say. And even some of it is pretty interesting. It's on. Hey, see you next time.